some news in New York, because we are in New York, and NYCFC is a team that's currently looking for a place to play soccer outside.
A place to call their own.
Yeah, and there has been some news about a stadium.
Well, let's just start with like when the Hartford City thing happened, that big joke. When they played in Hartford this last weekend
against the Houston Dynamo.
It was supposed to be a home game, but as you know, we share a stadium with the Yankees. The Yankees had a makeup game, so they're just scheduling. They couldn't do it, so they forced NYCFC to play a home game 100 and something miles away. I think it's like 120 miles away. Roughly the distance between New York City and Philadelphia, which is ridiculous. They played it there. Neither one of us could go. Not because we're going to say, I definitely did not want to go. I made my point.
I would have gone.
I said that this was my kneeling. This was my silent protest. I was not going to go because I didn't want to give them the idea that putting a stadium outside the walls of the 5 boroughs that we have here, outside of the 5 boroughs.
There are walls.
There are walls.
We're not allowed to leave, actually.
No, remember, Trump is from Queens. He built the wall before he even thought of the one on the Mexican border. But I said no. I don't want to give them. I want them to know, even if it's just my seat, that not every seat will be filled if they do build outside of New York City. For those of you who don't live in New York City, it's incredibly hard to get anything built here. There's a lot of people that are that will make sure that it doesn't happen in the form of community boards, and local residents will just argue and complain and feel like their rent's going to go up, which is a huge issue here. All things that we're all very sensitive of. But the goal of calling yourself New York City is to build within those 5 boroughs. Staten Island, of which has ample space that nobody wants. So,
Oh, you have all the space in the world? Oh, no, thanks.
Yeah, no. We're going to try really hard to get it into Queens. Queens also has a lot of space that nobody wants, but still, it's just, everything's contaminated. Everything's contaminated, and it has to be like, environmental boards and stuff. There's just a lot of people that need to be appeased before you can build anything, especially something like a stadium that has any level of tax credit or abatement.
Well, I also even though I would love NYCFC to have a stadium, I also don't want to grow an ear out of my forehead.
I mean, what you're doing is putting yourself before the club. It's very it's very selfish is what it is. And think about it. You would actually listen more if you had an ear in the middle of your forehead. Little inside baseball. For those of us, yes, we argue sometimes, just not on the podcast, not in front of the kids. But I was upset and I didn't want to go. You couldn't go also. We both had shows that night also. We wouldn't have been able to go anyway.
Yeah, I would have gone if I didn't have a show that night. But after watching the game and seeing about the
little over 10,000.
Little over 10,000, which is not that many. And they also...
That was terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, and the cameras were pointing at the sun side where no one was sitting. Everyone was sitting. So it looked disturbingly empty.
That's right. Yeah.
Everyone was sitting in the shade behind the camera. Move the camera.
It was a little frustrating for a lot of the fans, especially as they made that big commute, and the game just ended in a 1-1 draw. It would have been terrible.
They played lazy as hell too.
Yeah, it was also very hot on.
Yeah, incredibly hot.
Yeah, is this what fall is now? Is this our life now?
This is it. I mean,
just hurricanes every 3 days. And
when we were young, we used to make fun of the people who were like the slutty this costume for Halloween, the slutty that, because you're like, yo, it's freezing outside. You wear that now. Yeah. That's the best option. I might be a slutty firefighter just because it's so hot. I'm just going to walk around in a tanga.
Yeah.
With, instead of air on my back, it's going to be water. It's going to be one of those backpacks that only white dudes have.
Camelback.
Camelback. Yeah. With the straw.
The straw. Yeah. That you bite down and.
Yeah. I always thought that was booze. It's actual water. What are you guys doing?
I mean, you can put whatever you want in there.
Yeah, I always thought it was booze. I thought it was built for booze. People are like, it's for camping. I'm like, why would you need... If you need to carry backpack in a straw... if you need to carry water in a backpack that has a straw that goes right to you, you've made a mistake. You've camped too far. You've camped too far.
But you're not a camper. You're not into camping.
What makes you think I'm going to answer that in any other way besides, obviously I'm not a camper. I've been camping. I've been camping many times. And every time I'm doing it, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're 5 minutes away from a hotel.
Your hands are too soft to be a rugged dude.
That's sensitive, son. Look at this. I'm very sensitive.
But on top of the...
I'm dry right now.
On top of the issue of playing a home game in Connecticut, that was a big problem for a lot of people. But news came out about a possible stadium site.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because Patrikoff, the president, came out and started being a bit more vocal about, these areas.
John Patrikoff.
Yeah, John Patrikoff.
JP, as we call him.
Old JP. So Lil John was talking about, they became a bit more vocal about all the different potential sites.
Yeah.
Because I think they saw the fan backlash. Oh my God, is this a test run for a potential, outside of the five boroughs stadium? And he was like, absolutely not. There's no chance in hell. Well, here we go.
That time I said no chance in hell? Well, like a little bit of chance in hell.
Yeah, just a small chance in hell. And legitimately in hell too, because it's Long Island.
So news came out, and what's interesting, because we were talking to the guys from soccer down here about this. So this is like more than just New York news. This is like national news. To some in the soccer world, people are very interested in where NYCFC is going to play, because obviously, when their team is going to go to Yankee Stadium, they're like, hey, this is a tiny pitch and we don't want to play here.
Right.
And you can't kind of argue with the results that NYCFC gets at home. NYCFC at home is dominant. They're pretty dominant. They win a lot. The majority, I think they haven't lost at home, or maybe lost one.
I think they lost.
Oh, they lost against Portland. That was the first one.
Yeah.
So it took about 5 months to lose a home game.
This year, obviously. The last 2 seasons, it wasn't exactly a fortress, but this year they've been much, much better at it. And I feel like they built the team around the tiny pitch.
Yeah. So and I think there's a strategy and an understanding to sort of even pick the lineups that would be better on a smaller pitch.
Yeah, maximize the effect that it has.
You see, year after year, the NYCFC players have only gotten smaller. Look at Max Morales; he is our micro machine of soccer players.
And in 2 years from now, he's going to be very tall on the team. He's going to be the tallest guy on the team in 2 years.
So this made news in a lot of other media outlets. But yes, so one of the locations that they are suggesting is in Belmont, where like you've heard of the Belmont steaks, where they have the
great steaks. Belmont skirt steaks, very good. No, apparently it's a horse race, so don't eat the steaks. It's the losing horses. Everybody found that out the hard way.
But this is the location where they want to build a stadium.
Right.
There's an open piece of land that a lot of different companies are sort of bidding on.
But also, it's already commissioned. Well, not commissioned. It's already the city already considered zoned for sporting events. So that's a huge issue. Most land in the city is categorized as residential or zoned residential. So it's hard to get that switched in order to put something up like a stadium, unless you want to put it up on top of buildings, which I've already said is an option.
But it just, it could be our Space Needle.
Please.
It's a stadium.
You had Windows of the World. You had a restaurant on the top of a building. We can't put a stadium?
It should be a piece of cake.
Think about this. It spins just like the restaurant did. Not bad.
While the game is going on.
What seats what angle do you have? All of them. The seats spin around the stadium. It's amazing.
That's the future.
I mean, come on now. Who wouldn't want to go?
There's not a bad seat in the house. Yeah. Also, I'm vomiting uncontrollably.
Yeah. Also, very dizzy. The vertigo sucks, but the game is worth it.
The quality.
I mean, it's hard to talk to your fans.
But this has been a big problem, because a lot of, even me personally, it's like the idea of going to Long Island to which would be like,
also makes us vomit.
The vertigo.
I mean, I'm getting vertigo already thinking
about it. The Long Island Railroad.
Oh my God. It's not on the subway.
It's not on the subway, so it would be a really tough commute, and it would just take a long time to get there. And we see, that when MLS 1.0, right, was like they weren't really thinking of
to just put it in NFL or college stadiums. Figure out a way to get these games going.
Yeah, but now we're learning you need to have these soccer stadiums in urban centers that are accessible from public transportation.
Public transportation is massive for most cities.
And then that will lead to a better
but like those walkable sort of downtown stadiums.
Sure.
And not all of them have to be that, but there's it's that sense of community is built, and it becomes like a part of everybody marches to the stadium. It's kind of fun. fun. It's part of bringing in that young professional crowd, you know?
And that's exactly what we are.
And Belmont gives you none of that.
None of that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start a family and get a house.
Right, now I got to get a picket fence to be a fan of this team.
I'm gonna put
2.3 kids. Where am I going to find that third of a kid?
2.3.
That's the average.
Is it 2.3 or isn't it 2.5?
No, it's 2.3 and a dog.
Oh, okay.
So come on, 0.3 of a kid. I'm just holding an arm, a shoulder, and half a head. He wants to go. Is it a he? I never asked. I will not go to the games in Belmont. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say that I won't support the club anymore.
Sure.
It will feel as though we were lied to.
Without a doubt.
It will feel as though they failed. And they failed the community that they supposedly love. Already, I kind of complained that the 95% of the team, 99% of the team lives in Connecticut.
You don't like that the players
live in Connecticut
and the staff live in Connecticut.
It upsets me every time I hear it. Every time I hear it.
Well, if you don't know, some people may think like that Connecticut is like incredibly far away, but like Stamford, Connecticut,
I mean, emotionally it is very far away. I don't want to talk about it. I don't like it. I don't want to hear about it.
Yes, Connecticut is closer than you are to your father.
Yes. Who? I'm just gonna go cry real quick.
But no,
there's like a piece. There's like a penis that sticks out of it that juts into the city. They could. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's like a little handle.
There's a million ways to put it. So let's just be clear about that. There's so many different analogies, metaphors.
Well, if you consider that that's where all the finance money is, I feel like my metaphor is way better.
Okay, yeah, The Big Short.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's not so short.
But yes,
there's literally like a piece that juts out into and almost touching the city. What normally would have been a part of New York City, but I think they wanted, or New York State, but wanted, I guess, cheaper taxes, so it moved over to Connecticut. But it's like a place like Fairfield, Connecticut, and Greenwich, Connecticut, all the big money. That's where they all go, right?
Yeah, and that's fairly close, especially to the Bronx,
so, especially to Purchase, which is where they are,
where they train,
which is above the Bronx.
But that bothers you that they're
you want them to play for New York City.
You want them to be in Williamsburg and just
they should be like rooming. They should have roommates. They should all be each other's roommates. You should be a part of the city. When you go home, you should be walking through the city that you represent on that field. That's just how I feel. I don't care. You can be mad at me.
But you don't say that to like NFL players, NBA players.
Because
you expect them to live in mansions.
They don't have the connection to the community that soccer players do.
Really? Okay.
NFL players, they don't care where they play. It's just a jersey. They're all just franchises. Soccer is different. You're wearing the city name on your chest. You play for the club that represents that city. It's different. The owners are the only ones who care about in other sports that really care about the actual city itself. If you're in a big market, maybe the players sort of attach themselves. Like Porzingis is doing that with the Knicks.
Sure.
He's trying to become a bit more of a seen and noticed in New York. He's come out to NYCFC games, but in soccer, it's different. You're part of that community, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, anti-modern football," right? That was that nerd comic thing. You were like, right? Like, no, comic, you need to be a part of. I hate the modern and everyone's buying everyone. That guy, right? That's because you're supposed to be a part of the community. That's what a soccer player is supposed to do. If you lose a game in New York City and then you go home to fricking Greenwich, Connecticut,
you want people just angry at you on the subway ride back home?
You should take the subway. You should 100% have to take the subway with the fans.
Oh, only if you lose.
Only if you lose. You know what you got to do? You got to do the same thing we're doing. You got to sit on the subway for 45 minutes. Yeah. And of course, they only had one extra train because God forbid, you get everyone home in less than 45 minutes after a match. It only takes an hour and a half.
I just imagine David Villa just holding on to the bar, and
Maxi Morales is holding on to David Villa's leg,
and everybody's like, "Yo, David, what was that pass in the box, man? Just take the shot.
Come on, dog. Why are you going so far midfield to grab the ball?" And he's like, I would like to just go home, and my family is here. You're not allowed to take a car. You're not allowed to take an Uber. You got to take your ass home on a subway. And if you live in a city that doesn't have that, you got to go home with a family. A family has to drive you home. So like if you're in Atlanta, they don't have subways.
You got a carpool.
You now got to go home. You got to sit in the back of a minivan with a family who came out to see you.
And you get no orange slices.
No, none.
Zero.
And they're like, "Hey kids, anybody want chocolate?" David is like, "I would like a bit of chocolate." No chocolate for you, David.
You did not earn a chocolate.
How about anyone who didn't miss a shot that in this card gets a piece of chocolate? How's that sound, David? Please, can I have chocolate?
Oh man, but that's an interesting question.
I think we have a new character on this. David who wants a piece of chocolate. That's a new character on the podcast.
Please, un poquito de chocolate. Just a little. Can I have?
He's on the phone. He's like, but they don't want to give me the chocolate. What am I supposed to do? This is not right. I am David V. I have a Rolex. This is not right. Can I give them the Rolex for a piece of chocolate? The chocolate doesn't even look that good, but I want a piece of chocolate. I'm in the car. And real quick, we brought this up at, what was the podcast we just did? Soccer Down Here.
Yeah.
We mean it. NYCFC. Pay off the mob. Okay? That's how you're going to get the stadium. Pay off the mob. I live in downtown Brooklyn. I see these guys walk by all the time. If you need a warm introduction, I'll make it. Okay.
Look, Patrick. If I know a guy.
Yeah, Patrick.
I know a guy. My cousin is friends with the guy. Look, he can solve all your problems for you.
I'm not saying this is going to happen, but allegedly, if you were to leave an envelope with a lot of money, I know a guy whose hands are like sausages that would pick up that envelope, and maybe things get done in your general direction. You know, in a way that I think you would find favorable.
Exactly. Also, are you in a wire?
Yeah. Now, these three guys, all named Tony, are going to pat you down. Probably a little rough. And the one who's shortest, I think he's going to touch you somewhere. But we need to make sure you're not wearing a wire.
Yeah, obviously, we got to take the precautions.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, we're going to start construction. And here's a photo of your family having a barbecue. You didn't know we knew where you lived. But we do. So
look, that's just how business gets done in the city.
So just so you know, this section is going to be called the Salumaria section. Okay. And you're only allowed to sell fresh mutts in this section. Oh, God. I mean, get it done. It's New York City.
Okay.
They'll have cement trucks there within minutes. Are you kidding me? Where do you want the stadium? You want that thing on 34th?
It's just right in Times Square.
Yeah, come on. Get rid of the TKTS booth, and get that right there.
That's right.
You will have your stadium. Giuliani's not in office anymore. They're back, baby. It's a new era for the mafia.
A resurgence.
Yeah. Come on.
All right, guys. Now that we've
Pirlo's president.
we've sorted that out.